all of you today because we have colleagues, students, and our partners from all over the world. So today will be different guests from America, from Canada, Germany, Great Britain, Poland, Czech Republic, sure from Ukraine, and also from Hong Kong and China. So it is a big pleasure to be all together today and speak about a very important question. And maybe Paul Thomas will introduce our special guest speaker. Paul Thomas, our special advisor to rector at our university. So, Paul, it's time for you.
Okay, great. I hope everybody can hear me well enough. First of all, welcome to all of the students. This is a special event, but it's still part of your academic program. So welcome to all the students that are able to join, as well as students who will, catch the video later. So welcome. Remember, we're an American-style school, so be ready to ask questions, make comments, have a nice discussion. Let me introduce Yegor. This is a great pleasure for me. It's also an honor, quite frankly. Yegor is currently the Deputy Minister for Ukraine's digital transformation ministry. He's also an advisor to the Deputy Secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council.
It was.
Okay, well, maybe your job's getting a little easier. Okay. Well, prior to this posting here in Kiev, Yegor was the first consul at the Ukrainian embassy to the United States in Washington, D.C. And if I remember correctly, Yegor is also the representative of Ukraine's National Academy of Sciences. Tonight, he's here in his role as a deputy minister for our digital transformation ministry, a remarkable ministry, if I may say so. And he's going to speak tonight about the broad subject of digital public policy, and I'm sure he'll use the digital transformation ministry, all the projects and initiatives they have as examples. Yegor, let me thank you in advance for the time and effort to come be with our students, provide your insights, help with our educational program. I know you're busy. We really appreciate it. Okay, so with that, I'll turn it over to Deputy Minister Yegor Dubynskyi.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your kind introduction, and dear colleagues, thank you for having me here. Actually, I was thinking about this offer, this proposal, and when Paul asked me to give this lecture, it was a little bit tricky for me because of to talk this very broad term, digital public policy. And I decide maybe it would be better if I will shed a light on the work of our ministry, what we are doing, and what's going on in digital sphere of Ukraine, and maybe a little bit in the digital sphere of the world. Because for us right now, the digital public policy, the whole country is first of all to support our population and our people with necessary technologies, with necessary digital technologies, necessary digital services, and to win this war, actually. Okay, so actually a little bit about the digital policy, public policy in our context, and what's going on in our country. And actually Ukraine right now is currently carrying out the world's first digital war, and the challenges we face on the physical and digital front lines help us to fight for freedom and independence and give us a massive push for building digital security. And digital security is actually the key issue right now for us in the context of this war. And the Ministry of Digital Transformation is becoming the main accelerator of such changes and plans to continue its mission to create the most convenient country in terms of receiving public policy. So actually the goal of the ministry, which was created in 2019 after the presidential election, and it was vision of our president Vladimir Zelensky. The ministry, they were going to call it the Ministry of Transformations and Innovation, but decided to call it the Ministry of Digital Transformation because of the digital technologies cross-cutting issue practically everywhere in all spheres of the social life. So, and the main goal of the ministry is to build the most convenient state from the point of view of receiving public services. Actually, why we are connected with the public. And initially, from the start, some ambitious goals were set, and in the Ministry of Digital Transformation until 2024. It's to make 100% of services and business online. It's involved more than 6 million Ukrainians in digital skills development program. It's to cover 95% citizens and settlements with high-speed internet, and to generate, let's say, to extend the share of IT sector in countries' GDP around 6.5 to 17 billion. It was not very understandable. Right now, our goal is around 10%. 10% of country's GDP will be generated in IT sector. And so to solve this issue, we've ministry pushed a few initiatives, established a few initiatives. One of them was a so-called D application. As you probably know that DIA exists as a mobile phone, a smartphone application, and DIA exists as a web service as well. And so, actually, it was quite unique thing in the world, and we believe that one of the best governmental mobile application. And here you can store your digital documents, pay taxes, donate to army, and even watch TV news. And right now, currently, the application has in Ukraine 18.3 million users, and the web service has more than 21 million users. And actually, it was really innovative application, not only for Ukraine, but in the world, because of first country in the world, we recognize the electronic passport and the equal as a paper or plastic passport. And the first country in Europe, Ukraine, recognized the digital driver license. For residents of the United States, they can understand me. And also we have our COVID certificate in our DIA, in your smartphone. So you are not, going with these papers like in other countries. And really, the DIA was recognized worldwide, and we receive a few prizes in different countries. And right now we are conducting negotiations with other countries, particularly with Estonia, quite well developed country. They want to buy DIA for themselves. Another dimension and another area of our activities was development of to support development of public services, and we started to develop the telecommunications sector. And Ministry established the Internet Subvention Project since 2019, and we have provided high-quality access to fixed Internet for more than 1 million Ukrainians from 3,000 towns and villages. And we built more than 7,000 social infrastructure facilities, and it's around 18,800 kilometers of optical fiber. And mobile communication and the LTE development was also one of the priorities. And almost 3 million rural residents have connected to 4G internet. And Ukraine has one of the highest internet rates in Europe at all. But not only, we also developing ecosystem, IT ecosystem in Ukraine, because we truly believe that they have having such potential, intellectual potential as Ukraine has. We have to develop this sphere, and also this sphere has to generate some income and to support our country and develop high tech in Ukraine. And so literally 2 weeks before the war, we launched a special tax and legal space for technology companies, which is called DSCT. And these are the best tax condition for IT companies in Europe, and more than 350 companies have become DSCT residents and exploring the best tax regime in Europe right now. And we have such companies like Samsung, for example, also. And I believe yesterday Visa joined also to our residency, DSCT residency. And really in this year, we managed to finally legalize virtual assets and crypto exchange, and we launched the Ukrainian Startup Fund. It's also another initiative of our ministry. And we also started the reforming of technical education in Ukraine. And I believe it would be interesting to do it. You know, we are splitting our history to 3 periods. Before the invasion, 21st of February, during the invasion, in this war, and after that. So I described you our activity before that, but maybe it would be interesting also for you to see. So.
Ukraine is a country where anyone can become a president and start significant changes for all the people around. To reinvent the way of interaction between citizen and government, we created the Ministry of Digital Transformation. Our main goals: to digitize, connect, educate, and develop. Our flagship product, DIA, one-stop shop for all the documents and public services. No paper, no stress, no bureaucracy. Ukraine is the first country in the world where digital passport works as physical ID. Our priority is to cover with high-speed internet, big and small cities, and cultivate digital skills in big and small Ukrainians. We invest in startups and create proper conditions for their growth. Dia City, the best tech system in the world for the IT industry. World's major companies are already in Ukraine, and some Ukrainian startups became unicorns. Our goal is to build the most convenient country in the world for people and business. Technologies change countries. People, you.
So actually, you know, it was very interesting that a few people you saw there, really, they are our staff. So we made this clip with our own people. But everything, as you can understand, had changed after the February 24th, and the ministry. We ministry continued to extend our work after the start of the full-scale invasion. And since February 24, we've launched news application for DIA like eVorok chatbot. We have launched the fundraising initiative United 24 and Army of Drones, provided the connection to the critical infrastructure with Starlinks, as well as merged volunteering resources in the IT Army of Ukraine initiative. And you can see on the screen, you know, a view from our initiative. And literally, we are continuing also to develop our the application, and we are adding one application per week or maybe per 2 weeks into the D application, as you saw. And it's also about the digital public policy. And for example, United 24 is a global initiative of the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, which unites people from all over the world around the help in Ukraine. And the collecting funds are directed to the following areas: defense and demining, humanitarian and medical aid, and reconstruction of Ukraine. And in 3 months of its operation, the total amount of charitable contribution exceeds $203 million, or 7.4 billion hryvnias. And we are working actively also with celebrities, with other people, and particularly American actor and multiple time Golden Globe nominee, Liv Schreiber, one of the world's most famous musician groups, Imagine Dragons, and artistic director of the legendary Balenciaga fashion house, Demna, Barbara Streisand, and Andriy Shevchenko, and Evelina Svitolina. They joined the United 24 platform as ambassadors. And one of the initiatives we also conduct supports, ministry supports, is the Army of Drones, as you see. And even I have Army of Drones here. And Army of Drones campaign is a global fundraising initiative of President and United 24, together with General Staff of the Armed Forces and the Military Digital Transformation. And the Army of Drones allows to constantly monitor the 2,470 kilometers long front line and to field an effective response to enemy attacks using the modern technologies. And Army of Drones is represented in 7 sub-projects regarding the procurement, drone reserve, fundraising, technological component, operator training, and Ukrainian striking UAV. And by now, purchase of for around more than 1,000 UAVs and totally more than 2 billion hryvnias. We already signed some of them, under construction right now. And we already trained more than 1,000 operators in 17 schools, drone schools, drone operator schools. And during training, military personnel practices real fight tasks, camouflage skills, development of tactics and control of drones and other tasks, and we will perform in the So as you can imagine, it's also, Ministry of Digital Transformation, we are not saying a side of something, we are deeply involved in all actual needs right now. And Army of Drones is a significant part of our work, my work particularly, here.
As a result of the war, almost 12 million Ukrainians fled their homes. More than 8 million went abroad. For them, documents were translated into English in DIA. It takes a minute for Ukrainians to apply for an IDP status certificate in DIA. Ukrainians can also submit an application for IDP assistance in DIA app as well. Ukrainian government sending payments to help our people every month. The Russian military have destroyed tens of thousands of homes of civil people. Damaged property feature was created to track damages as accurately as possible. Ukrainians are able to report complete or partial damage to their private homes and residential properties. When Ukrainians had to be evacuated from hotspots, they had left behind everything they had earned throughout their lives. We updated services on eAid. There is a one-time financial assistance from the government to evacuated people. On the first day of this feature, we have received 1 million applications. Due to full-scale war, a lot of people lost their jobs in a moment. In order to support them, unemployment benefits service was launched in DIA. Citizens can apply for receiving unemployment status and financial support from the state, depending on previous income and experience. When the Russian army attacked Ukraine, it destroyed a number of TV towers. In order to provide Ukrainians with uninterrupted access to information, DIA TV and DIA Radio were created in the DIA app. Using this feature, the population follows all the news and even have watched Eurovision recently. The state has supported Ukrainians. Now Ukrainians are able to support the state in turn and invest in victory by purchasing military bonds in DIA. They are named after temporarily occupied Ukrainian cities.
So, as you see, we are continuing our work, and we are continuing our work in quite severe conditions. And one of our tasks is to create some safe condition for our digital sphere and to prevent the possible losses of data and possible losses of digital infrastructure. And so, since the start of this year, Russia conducted more than 1,300 cyber attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure. So let me emphasize for you, cyber attacks, it's not cyber incidents, so full-scale attacks. And this fight in the cyberspace had been going for more than 80 years and has strongly increased in the recent year. And the dynamics of Russian cyber attacks began to increase in January. At the stage, a full-scale war was not officially declared, but it was already clear that those attacks were premises to the large-scale coordinated operation. And since the February 24th, Russia deployed more and more. So right now we can counted more than 1,300 cyber attacks. And, most of them were conducted on governmental institutions, energy and financial sector organizations. And initially, Russia used programs like Thunderworm, Foxblade, Whispergate, Kitty Viper, and which can be called a cyber weapon, which Russia implemented even before it began to coordinate its attack in the physical and cyber worlds. Some of the attacks were sophisticated and required several months of planning and preparatory work. For example, a cyber attack by the APT group Thunderworm, prevented in April, used a hacking technique similar to the attack in December 2016, when malware called Undestroyer was used to shut off power in Kiev. And cyber attacks were accompanied by disruptive methods such as increasing disinformation campaigns, and were tightly coordinated with land and missile assaults. And for example, the evidence of this was an attack in Mykolaiv on June 7, when missiles attacked the city, while at the same time Mykolaiv region state administration suffered a cyber attack. But indeed, it was not a single one that would cause real damage to Ukraine's economy and critical infrastructure. So actually, we were waiting for some coordinated attack in cyber and physical space, kinetic attack and cyber attack as well. But since that Russian, they are miscoordinated even there. So we saw a few examples when they attacked Mykolaiv, they attacked Dnipro, they attacked, if you remember, TV tower in Kyiv, and at the same time, the TV center experienced a cyber attack. But once more, 80 years we spent in building this infrastructure and building our cybersecurity, creating cybersecurity agencies, preparing cybersecurity for agenda, strengthening our cooperation with our partners, building this US-Ukraine cybersecurity dialogue, as Paul probably remember, and it gives us some good results, and we were quite resistible for that. But another dimension of that is we have also to in the context of this resilience, we also had to somehow deal with data, and transfer data registers to the clouds was one of the solutions that made it possible to work. Even the governmental agencies were attacked. A week before the war, we managed to adopt the cloud services, and it allows us to officially transfer data registers to the cloud. And by now, more than 100 state and critical information registers were transferred due to the cloud solutions and agreements with our foreign partners. Among them, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Oracle, and our friends, Polish government, they helped us a lot also as well. And for instance, in Amazon Web Services, they provide us access to the 10 million gigabytes of its cloud to store backups for more than 50 million of data. Also, we have such phenomena like IT army, and it's very difficult to comment. I had to mention them because of these people. They are really, they are volunteers. They decided to defend its country as they can, and they are IT specialists. They were not hackers before that, but they decided also to like territorial defense. They decided to protect its country in cyberspace as well, and they helped us a lot. They helped us to defend. They helped us with cybersecurity very much, because of it was 24/7. We were attacked by Russians by different means: DDoS attacks, malware attacks, phishing attacks, but also they also started so-called active cyber defense. And we are right now, maybe it's a result because we were focused, last 8 years, we were focused on cybersecurity, and we did not pay attention, we did not create, like many other countries, we did not create our cyber forces. Even we declared that we are going we declared it last year that we are going to create cyber forces. We did not create that. And people, they have to protect our country in cyberspace, and they arranged this IT army, and we counted them as 250 probably IT experts. And right now we are thinking how to make them, to give them status of kind of cyber combatants, for example. And other countries also, they are interested in such phenomena, and also maybe to have cyber volunteers and cyber reservists will be a kind of new mean of protection of country. Another painful dimension of this war is, psychological operations, and psychological operations, which can be called the dimension of cyber information war, is one of the threats carried out by Russia. And it consists of propaganda, disinformation, concealment of one piece of information, and exaggeration of other. And such operations aim to sow mistrust in information sources, misrepresent Ukrainian actors, and promulgate false narratives about the reasons for Russian actions. And we oppose the publication of disinformation and sharing of content of social media, as well as direct attacks by bots on the accounts of Ukrainian media activists and bloggers. Russia promotes the same narratives in the occupied territories to influence the perception of information. To provide an access to the truthful information in the occupied territories, we launched television and radio in our D application, as I mentioned before. And Russia puts pressure on media space by promoting its fake narratives, and that its turns affect the opinion of the countries that are decision makers in the United Nations. So, the propaganda of, I personally believe that it's extension of their internal propaganda, it's extension of their internal brainwashing. Like Russia conducted this brainwashing more than 20 years, brainwashing its own populations. They are trying to brainwash the other countries, and neighboring countries, particularly Ukraine, but not only. The Russian disinformation is spreading also in Africa, India, China, Middle East, Latin America, and the following influence in countries of Europe and in the United States even. And they are trying to use on this public opinion in these countries and indirectly to influence on their voting in the United Nations, particularly. So we saw this example, and other countries saw, and we have somehow, to work together on this threat. Another important, let's say, aspect of that is a moderation policy of sensitive content. As you can see, this warfare, this ongoing war in Ukraine is practically online war. the most online war in the history and generates the most information. And everyone is posting the pictures, posts, video on that. But for that, they are using the social media platforms, and you know, the influence depends on their policy as well. And so we cooperate with Meta and with Alphabet to optimize social media policies and such as content moderation and set. And this policy, they were set as a peaceful time, and kind of peaceful time norms they are not applicable to the current moment. And blocking sensitive content about war in Ukraine and hiding the truth of Russian crimes in Ukraine from the international audience is not fair, you know. And social media platforms to contribute to starting to sharing the truth about the war in Ukraine. And actually now people around the world are following the war online. And we can say that Facebook, Twitter, YouTube turned out to the powerful weapons to deal with Russian disinformation campaigns. And we are working for that with them very closely. And at the same time, the moderation policy of social media platforms was developed for peaceful times in the peaceful countries. And so we are coordinating with Meta on sensitive content and have had positive results so far. Kind of, you know, just to explain you that people, we do understand that people somewhere in Mariupol, Kherson, Kharkiv, other places, they are suffering, you know, maybe they're suffering from PTSD, but I truly believe that they have a right to express their opinion, you know, and exactly the moderation policy, which was invented somewhere in, you know, in Florida on Miami Beach is not the same that you can apply to the person who is under bombing and or cruise missile attacks. So, and people in these social media platforms, they have to understand that as well. And the people who are under bombing, they have the right to deliver the truth to the world. It's my own opinion. And Russia, from their side, Russia just, you know, they recreated the Iron Curtain since the Soviet Union time. But this Iron Curtain is kind of one direction. So they prevent any information coming to Russia and to keep their people, you know, in all the soup of the Russian Kremlin, you know, inspired propaganda. But Russia, at the same time, they are easily spreading this disinformation through this Iron Curtain. And one of the areas where we have to be active also to deliver truth to Russia, not to be as naive as we were in February and March and maybe April, when we believe truly that if we will show Russia the real consequences and what is really going on in Ukraine, they will be so surprised and they will, you know, arrange a riot, you know, against Putin. No way. You know, it was not possible, unfortunately, to convince people after 20 plus years of brainwashing. And but anyway, we have to deliver this truth, and probably you are aware about, you remember the Soviet Union time tradition, you know, somewhere in the kitchen they are discussing truth. But publicly, exactly, they have to support Putin. But maybe they have to know at least truth to the kitchens. So, also, we believe that an important part of our digital public policies, you know, sharing the broad international digital security regime and framing a code of conduct is critical for global community as well. And given the complicated nature and evolving dynamics of cyber warfare, it's vital for the global community to shape the broad international digital security regime and frame a code of conduct for states which are actively involved in the domain. This can be done by identifying critical infrastructure crucial to national security that either remain beyond the ambit of the cyber attack or are placed in the maximum retaliation category. For people who are suffering right now from blackouts after the Russian attacks on our critical infrastructure, energy infrastructure, I do believe they understand what it is about. And our focus is to build flexibility in critical data registries and information exchange system, as it allows the whole system to become the more resilient both in case of attacks and threats. So actually for us, it's right now it's a critical concept, and I'd like to say a few words about that. So we are working on the concept of digital resilience here in the ministry. And while we are leading the process of digitalization by implementing multiple innovation products and services, we realize that the digital sphere should be secure by design. And that's we continue using in cyber areas where security is becoming the basis of all stages. We identify great world interest in Ukraine as a testing ground for new technologies. And therefore, we attract international companies to cooperate to increase investment in digital technologies, especially cybersecurity and militech developments. And those practices will bring us closer to our victory and vision of fully digitized Ukraine in 2030. And let me show our vision of our future.
Громадяни України, сьогодні президент Путін оголосив проведення спеціальної військової операції на Донбасі. Росія здійснила удари по нашій військовій інфраструктурі.
Let's look 8 years ahead. 2030. The history of the new Ukraine is studied all over the globe. Why? Because Ukraine became the most digital and convenient country in the world. Scripts have replaced bureaucrats. 500,000 former public servants are successfully integrated in the new economy. No more red tape, but paperless. No more banknotes, but cashless. Yes, we became the first country to abandon paper money. Ukraine now has the best tax system for the IT industry and the most affordable e-residency. Thanks to Ukrainian engineers and programmers, the R&D centers of the world's top technology companies operate successfully, and Ukraine ranks first in the world by the number of startups per capita. Ukrainian courts are guided by artificial intelligence, and all notarial acts take place online. Ukrainian customs is fully automatic and the fastest in the world. Customs clearance and car registration can now be done in 3 clicks from your smartphone. Because of war and internal migration, we have built the most flexible and modern digital education. Brave military and civilians get quality treatment with modern remote monitoring and e-health systems. Ukraine also has the most effective cyber defense in the world. After the horrors of 2022, Ukraine focused on security systems. Now every production facility has its air defense system, and the sleep of Ukrainians is protected by an ultra-modern iron dome. The Ukrainian government is digital, more like an IT company in terms of the efficiency of implementing decisions, and one can register a land plot, start construction, open a business or get a license, and register a car or real estate from a smartphone automatically in 1 click. Ukraine is the freest and digital. This is all because international partners and the world's leading technology companies supported the Digital for Freedom initiative and united to help Ukraine recover through digitalization, building a new Ukraine together, free and the fastest, brave and digital.
As a Minister of Digital Transformation, we have to think not about the current moment, but also about the future. And the future, in our understanding, will be more and more connected with digital technologies, particularly for Ukraine. And considering your education course and considering your understanding of this world, we have to think from the point of view of economy. Right now, as you know, probably, unfortunately, our economy, our capital equipment, they were damaged and heavily damaged. And our metallurgy is damaged also heavily. Our big chemistry is damaged. Even our agricultural sector is damaged. So, and in this situation, only IT sector shows the growth. It shows the growth, and it became really, generating area for the economy. and we support the credit sector. But how we can support? We are following two ways. So we are trying to give them some work, and not only as for outsource. We are thinking about the product companies. And for that, we are creating such conditions. I mentioned about the city taxation and legislation regime. Also, we are working with our partners, big tech companies, and big tech companies, they are ready to donate us with their technologies and to help us to support us and develop some technologies together, which will allow us to optimize it, e-governance, for example, to optimize the governance in Ukraine, applying new technologies. We have lack of people. Many of them are currently serving to their country on the front line, and they are mobilized, But we have to replace them, maximum replace them by algorithms, by technologies. Also, in many sectors, we can make a breakthrough. Like, we are right now, I just literally finished a call with Microsoft and our Ministry of Health, which is dedicated to new technologies in e-health and telemedicine. Also, we have this track of cooperation with Amazon and with Oracle and with Siemens. Also, we are working on e-justice, how to reform our judicial sector and courts, current courts. Also, we are working on education, which is very close to you, how to develop e-education and how to involve people more and to provide them with some digital skills to avoid also so-called ageism when part of country is simply not able to live because of they are not able to understand and to work with new technologies. So for that, for example, Ministry of Digital Transformation, we established special courses, video courses like Netflix for elderly people, where you simply we are explaining them how to work with new technologies, how to work with and how to facilitate their life. So the idea is to make the life of people more comfortable, not only for coders, not only for young, but for old people. And we believe they deserve it. And for that, we are developing new technologies, and we are making these technologies safe. And for that, we are developing the concept of digital resilience. So as you can imagine, after the start of the full-scale invasion, not only Russians, no one expected that we will sustain for so long time. And they took into account that we are not only, fighting, but economy is working. But economy is working because we were able to save our critical registers, and we make our system more resilient. Russians cut it around, they ruined more than 25% of our telecom infrastructure. So they cut it, if I'm not mistaken, around 15,000 kilometers of fiber optics, and they've physically ruined the cell towers and the occupied territories, just to deprive people of the possibility to get access to internet, to other sources of information, because of the fight for the brains, for the minds. And when we are liberalized territory, particularly today's Kherson, we already prepared the 150 Starlinks to install in Kherson and to provide people a possibility to connect with their relatives and to get them access to internet. We will deploy mesh radio around them to give them even to more wide access. So we are trying to build more flexible infrastructure. And since in the time of war, flexible infrastructure, digital infrastructure is more resilient than the physical infrastructure. So it's one of the lessons we learned during these 8 months. And it's very important, by the way, for world community. And many people, many countries, even peaceful countries, even Japan, you know, approached us, asked us to share our experience because of they have, unfortunately, the same consequences after some hurricanes and earthquakes and that. So, actually, maybe, you know, that's all public policy. Whether you have any questions, please ask. Paul, I'm sharing my screen still, or I'm in normal mode?
Yeah, we still can see your screen, and I see that some students also have questions. Margarita Yusupchuk, she raised her hand.
Yes, could I ask questions?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much for giving us the time. I have two questions. Is DIA well protected against cyber attacks? And if cyber criminals manage to hack DIA, what will be the next steps of Ukrainian government?
So we made an audit of cyber audit of DIA first of all, and after that we did some unprecedented. We had no precedent before that. We opened DIA for bug bounty, if you know what does it mean. So we opened DIA for hackers and asked them to hack DIA, and even we propose them price. Who will be able to hack DIA, we propose them price, and no one was able to do that because we have very strong cybersecurity team as well in DIA, and we are also trying to apply some newest technologies in cybersecurity. Literally yesterday, with one of the leaders of the DevOps team of DIA, we discussed possibility to introduce new system to start project and prediction of threats, of cyber threats in DIA. So we are taking care about DIA very heavily. The second question is connected, what will be next? You know, ideologically, let's say, DIA was created by government for citizens. It was downstream. But right now, we have to apply these technologies from government to government. And maybe you heard that some admin reform is coming in Ukraine. And part of that is, you know, introduction of new digital technologies. So the idea of the initiative, which was launched by Vice Prime Minister and our Minister of Digital Transformation, Mikhailo Fedorov in Lugana, and he called it Digital for Freedom, is just to introduce new technologies and new technologies of governance as well, to make it more accountable, transparent, and reliable, and to remove the person in the middle. Like we remove the person in the middle between you and governmental services, we have such initiative for the government, particularly, you know, this digital guillotine, we call. So to reduce the number of certificates you need to start your business or to do something, we want to reduce it 3 times from 1,400 to 4,000. Oh, sorry, 1,400 to 400. Because of a lot of unnecessary papers. And if you will digitize these procedures, for example, you know, all fiscal services connected with receiving your car on the border, you know, we are trying to make it just simply automatic to reduce this corruption. So we do want to introduce procedures which are not only secure by design. It's zero corruption by design. No place for corruption at all. This is the ideology. If I'm allowed.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, it seems Paul has. Paul, is it correct? Because we cannot hear you. I see that like second time you asked something.
Yeah. No. I'm just pointing out one of our students has asked a question. You can see the hand.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you. Jacob, a question, please.
Yeah, so I want to ask, are you planning in the future to allow foreigners to use DIA, for example, for business or maybe some visa like working visa or studying visa? And also I was curious about the future. For example, when nowadays a lot of Ukrainians move to Europe, and in the future there will born children, so they will be like Ukrainians that will have European passport or American, something like that. Will we like if we will create a double citizenship rule or law, so can we create like India and a feature that will allow to register an Ukrainian and a foreigner like passport, something like that?
You know, yeah, you put one question in another, but okay, I will try to explain. So, DIA is part of the digital resilience and sovereignty of Ukraine. Why? Because of, we have many people who left country who are internally displaced person, and simply our refugees, they have no papers, no paper documents, and they came to other countries with DIA, and they spread this DIA. And DIA is a tool how the citizen keeps connection with the government, with the state. The citizenship is a connection of the person and his state. And DIA is such connection right now in this case. And exactly what we did for that, we asked our other countries which hosted our refugees to recognize DIA, to recognize these documents and to make the position of people legal. And even, we convinced our Verkhovna Rada, our parliament, to adopt some changes in law, and we translated DIA in English and translated documents to make them in English. And we agreed with Poland, where we have maybe the biggest number of our citizens there, and they open kind of DIA-PL, and in their own mobile application Obyvatel, they also have the part connected with DIA. So, and after that, where we had to show that DIA is reliable, DIA is effective mobile application, we received also interest from these countries, and they want to buy DIA and to deploy DIA for their own. About your second question about the dual citizenship, DIA is, we plan to reform our notariat, if you know that what we are talking about, to make e-notary so-called, and where you will be able to make some official actions. You will be identified and identified by the application, and you will be allowed to make some legal deeds. But that's the question you asked. It's the consulate. Only consulate of Ukraine in the other country can register child as a citizen of Ukraine. Is for a moment I see no exception from that, but at the same time, immediately you will receive in your DIA, you will have the confirmation, and you will have his digital certificate of birth and digital passport.
Okay, thank you very much for the answer.
Yes, please.
Ruslan, go ahead.
Yegor, I have a question about military commissariat. You planned to transfer this service in 2021. Why did you didn't transfer this service into DIA? And what was the troubles of doing it in time, and why didn't you use it in such time like a war, like after the beginning of the war?
Once again, the first one connected with Voenkomat?
Yes. It's
no, it was we are trying to improve governmental services, but also unfortunately no magic wand to that. We have to deal also with Ministry of Defense, and believe me, it's not easy task. It's not an easy task. Even we have very close connection and very close cooperation with General Zaluzhny and Mr. Reznikov, but you know, sometimes this machinery is very complicated. So, but we are working on that. We have that such a plan, and yes, we are working on some. We are involved, as I mentioned in my presentation. We are involved in militech development. And we are trying to convince also our Ministry of Defense and General Staff, even when they will create, I believe, the cyber forces, we advising them how to do it in more sophisticated, more right way, and how to find the right people and what conditions it will be. Because I believe not all of them, these cyber warriors, let's say, not all of them have to be officers, let's say. You know, some of them can be civilians. And at the same time, you know, that for military right now, I saw for my own, each week, each day, I see such a lot of highly motivated people who came to our army, to armed forces after February. They are so talented. They brought such a lot of creative to this army. It's maybe one of the reasons, if not the reason, you know, why we are winning this war. I believe we are winning, something that they mentioned. At least it's not the war of small Soviet army against big Soviet army, because we had no chances. It's completely different approach to the war. And because of people are able to do such things, very creative. And so I believe also these people, they have to serve its country in the way where they are the most productive, not especially with the gun, but maybe to fight by their mind and brain.
Okay, thank you.
Aura.
Yes, hello. So I wanted to ask you a question. So you've shown us a video about how do you see Ukraine in future 8 years, right? So how we are going to develop after our victory. And there were a lot of like e-services, e-health system, digital education, and so on and so on. But do we have enough budget for everything? Because now we spend a lot of sums of money, a big amount of money for our army, yes, to arm everything and like to cope with this situation. But what is going to be like in the future, the situation with our budget?
Do you want to answer me from the geo-economic point of view or reality? From the geo-economic point of view, we can analyze the budget in the depth of the United States. Sorry, Paul, nothing personal. But let's say you know that the depths in around 15 trillions, yes? Even more. And I would not say that the US is a poor country in this situation. So in economy, it's important the speed of development and the attractiveness for investors. And we are trying to create conditions for investors and for the most productive areas of economy. We believe that IT is one of the most productive. And we are working on that to attract big tech companies which will invest money in development of some products here, and it will be the driver of economy. And as you see, maybe it's a little bit naive, maybe, you know, Paul and colleagues will criticize me, but after IT, we saw many IT entrepreneurs, they developed after that some hardware technologies. And Elon Musk, one of such examples. You know, the person who earned this initial capital on IT market, after that, he started to develop such things and breakthrough technologies like Tesla, like SpaceX, like many other, like droids, like Neurolinks. So he's investing in hardware, and we believe we have engineering potential, and we will develop this engineering potential. But we are not waiting for the Elon Musk only. We are working on Miltech. And as another example, I can show you Israel, country which is fighting, 70 years. 70 years they are fighting, and they are fighting love. They are fighting in producing new technologies, and also not the worst economy in the world. And they are producing high tech and new high tech as well. Unfortunately, we are in this situation. We have to somehow build our future considering that Russia is our neighbor. Unfortunately, we cannot take Russia and send them to some other planet. We have to build a very strong economy with very strong defense. And it will define our focus on Miltech as well. But Miltech, not only in hardware, but in software. And believe me, the area for that, the room for such technologies is tremendous. And they will influence on civilian sector as well. As you know, unfortunately, in the history, the war is driver of economy. And if we will use this driver, it will also positively influence on development of other technologies as well, in hardware and in IT sector as well. Unfortunately, we're in such technologies, but as American proverb, as far as I remember, if you have lemons, you have to make lemonade. So let's use this situation. And by the way, it is a situation created for, unfortunately, once again, I want to live in a peaceful country, but right now we have very brief, very short innovation cycle. We create some technologies, we test them, next day on the front line, and we can improve, fix, and test it again. For other places, it takes years. They cannot create artificially such conditions we have each day. And sometimes people, they are improving their innovation just on the front line. Why I'm talking about these talented engineers? We saw them in our hackathons. We saw them in our army of drones. And really, they are doing impressive things. I'm not allowed to tell about that officially right now, but believe me, it's impressive not only for us, but for international experts as well. It's why I'm so sure that we have potential and we have our future.
Mm-hmm. Students, anybody else? Well, yeah.
The presentation was too long, Paul. People are already tired.
People, you mean like you?
No,
Hey,
I have a long working day ahead.
Yes, but I know you, and you only work 16 hours a day. So what's
just on.
All right. Hey, before we go, because we are an economics and business university, I want to touch on forward-looking development issues, and before we let you go, get some of your comments and ideas. Look, if we look out to 2030, Ukraine will be developing not just in the intangible assets like IT-based technology, but also tangible things. I mean, we have to rebuild a lot of our renewable energy capacity. We have to rebuild some of the metallurgical capacity. We need to attract, new industries, especially, shall we say, service-based industries, right? So how do you see DIA supporting economic development in general going forward? I mean, for example, DIA, because of the work you're doing in support of the military, obviously there's economic spinoffs to military, like aerospace, because Ukraine's one of the few countries that's really active in aerospace. So DIA's work on behalf of the military, spins off to DIA helping to support the development of aerospace. But how can DIA work in general to support economic development, or in specific industries? What are your thoughts on that?
You know, the aim of DIA is to create the more comfortable conditions for the person, for the citizen, you know, and economic sphere as well. In DIA, you have everything, not only digital documents, but also you have digital services. And so you can open your, you can register your enterprise in DIA. You can open your FOB, which means physical person entrepreneur in DIA. You can open a bank account in DIA. In which country? Could you open a bank account in the application in the United States?
No.
Say
Very difficult.
not. In many other countries as well. We are creating them favorable conditions to attract people to make and to start their business. Not only foreigners, and our people as well. It will be much easier for them to open business and to stop the difference in culture between Europe and the United States. And I believe you know that Americans, they're easier taking risks to open business, to come bankrupt, or to reopen business, to open business again. For us, it's a huge challenge, not only psychologically, but just formally. To open business, you know, in Ukraine a few years ago, it's easier to hire a lawyer to do that. You will never will be able to do it for your own. But right now you can do it just with your smartphone. I believe it's huge social innovation, and it will allow people, you know, to start easier. Maybe we will develop these services, not only DIA, but other services which will advise you how to apply your skills, where you can find your like-minded partners for this startup, where you can find the angel investor, where you can find the startup fund for that, where you can find incubator for your idea. And we are developing the part of this, by the way, ecosystem as well. And just simply, you will have an instruction. You know, last week I was in Finland, and it was so impressive. Finnish, you know, Finland as a Baltic country in the good meaning, you know. They created just a scheme, and they call it the very humble unicorn factory. So they have technological cycle, how to take a good idea and to bring to the market just billion, the company with at least 1 billion check. We have to recreate, you know, we have to create conditions for this for people. I believe it's important. And for that, exactly, the preconditions to have talented people, but I told you, we have them. We have to remove obstacles on their way, to remove corruption on their way. This is our task. We cannot think, you know, of them, but we can help them. This is it's not only for an idea, but also for the idea of the ministry.
Yes, for our students, let me add, everything that Yegor is explaining reduces risk, and every time you reduce business risk, you stimulate the creation of new businesses and the expansion. Because you're reducing not just the risk, the time, the effort, the cost, the frustration, and so DIA is really helping accelerate development in Ukraine by reducing these risk factors and these cost factors. To my way of thinking, that's a really great accomplishment for DIA as we go forward after the war and into the European future. So that's really good. Yegor, one more little question. So I just read that DIA is working now with the German, Digital Transformation Ministry is working with the German government. Are you on some digital issues? Are you at liberty to discuss that?
Paul, yeah, not only with German, you know, September 5th, yeah, we signed, let's say, since September, Ukraine became an associated member of the Digital Year. It's the program of digital development of European Union. So even separate our candidacy, we conducted this negotiation. So we are deeply involved in many EU programs on digitalization, and they have a program which is called e-wallet. It's an attempt to create something like DIA on European level, because of Europe, unfortunately, they have a zoo of different applications. Even in each country, they have different documents and different applications in one country. Can you imagine 28 countries where you have to have your documents and they have no interoperability? They are not compatible to each other. And so we are in consortium with Germany and other countries. We are conducting negotiations, and it's European approach to open call to start the project, to give money to one team, consortium of different countries, to create some product. So we are in one of the consortium. We are in consortium with Germany, but we are conducting negotiations with other countries, and we are working on them on bilateral level as well. So very closely we are working with Baltic countries, and as you know, in the index of digital development, Baltic countries and Finland, they are, let's say, digital leaders of European Union, and we're working with them as well.
Great, just great. Really wonderful. Anybody else have questions, comments before Yegor escapes?
I'm not escaped, I'm just will return to my work.
I would like to say a
Michael?
couple of words, just like a remark. Thank you very much, Mr. Dubynskyi, for such an interesting webinar, and especially for your great job and for the great job of the Ministry of Transformation. It's like the soul, like military army hours. So I think that all Ukrainian population are very much in favor in what you and the ministry are doing. And well, you know that the population is always very serious, and is not just liking everything what government and well, government is doing. Also, yesterday I read very interesting information regarding education, that all the education certificates and diplomas soon will be also here. And I think it's very important for every country, but especially now for Ukraine, as you know that because of aggression of Russia and bombing of many schools, like hundreds, thousands of schools and many universities all over Ukraine. So I think that many papers and archives could be damaged, and it will be easy to restore everything just using this system with the database which Ukraine has been using for many years, which is called Yedebo. Well, so thank you very much. Thank you, and we will be happy to cooperate in what we can. For example, we are cooperating with Johns Hopkins University, and we were also developing some webinars for future in telemedicine. Maybe they could be invited, or maybe they have already been invited by the Minister of Digitalization and Health and Minister of Health, just to cooperate together in doing this very important work. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. And, you know, really, we are just doing our best. We are trying to promote and adopt new services. And let me use this opportunity also to wish you success and to your university. I'm working with Paul for many years. we are friends, and yeah, I know about your history and your success, and I wish you success also, you know, in your education. It's very important to keep students right now and to educate them and to show them the future, because without the human capital, the rest capital is senseless. But better Paul will continue this sentence. So it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Yes, Paul.
Well, let me just add a few sentences to the love fest. Really quite sincere. I mean, you just look at the digital transformation ministry. I mean, it is a truly revolutionary, in a good way, a truly revolutionary approach to government, and it demonstrates that Ukraine has the highest level commitment to reducing corruption and stimulating business and making life easier for common citizens. You know, it's a ministry that deserves a lot of credit and a lot of support. And I brought up the work, you know, with the digital work with various European governments, because that work demonstrates to Europe that they're going to get a really valuable new member in some years. And so, you know, the digital transformation ministry is really leading the way, and it's just really cool. It's just a really cool ministry. So just wanted to add that very personal note. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a productive evening, or relax if you are allowed. And so good luck and have a nice and peaceful, the keyword peaceful weekend. Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.